Hello everybody, we're going to be looking at my map, Gravity, and what's interesting about this map is that I've already made a Gravity map. This is a remaster of the first one. You may have seen the commentary of the first one. This one is a lot better. So let me make sure I have all my settings correct. In this lobby, there's actually a secret over here. It's very hard to see. Actually, it's impossible to see. And these are my best speed runs. 15 minutes. I will not be able to beat that today. But I will be running in speedrun mode. So this is like normal if you want to just play the map. And this is speedrun. So if you want to beat the map as fast as possible. These posters will be more important later. So we've got these scaffolding tables. I was actually pretty proud of a lot of the textures in this area. Not proud, but they actually just turned out well. This only took me a few minutes to do. I like the walls quite a bit. And then they've got these levers, which are kind of cool. But you can actually come back here, just walk through. If you punch these guys, it triggers the fight sequence. Looks like there's a texture change. That shouldn't be like that. Just don't tell anybody. Storage, there's actually not much in here. And these are actually cauldrons, and there's barrier blocks here so that you can't right-click them. Because this is actually a water bucket, as you can see. Which is pretty interesting. These you can click because there's no barriers. So this is just a storage. And a lot of these offices, there's just guys sitting in there, not really doing anything. And if you punch them, they will die instantly, and they will trigger the same thing as hacking into Office 312, which, if you do that, you can see here, it's like a Windows 7 machine. It's kind of funny.
Great! Just let it do its magic.
So we got that.
We weren't expecting it. Evacuate now.
So it's something apparently happens. Oh yeah, Iron Helmet is you've got this earpiece in your ear, which is kind of funny. You can see them. So there's guards at the end of the tunnel, and if I can squeeze past them, there's actually guards over there, and a guard there. What's interesting about these guards is that if you run through a door, they break through the door because that's how it prevents you from just hiding through the door. You can't actually play the map to where these die, but it's just not easy. You get overpowered very easily. So you wake up in here. You can see a couple more of those computers. These lights were actually just, I think they're glowstone, but they stick out 1 pixel, so they look kind of cool. This animation was done pretty lazily.
You thought you could just hack our systems? How foolish. You should have known not to come down this far.
Yeah, I didn't.
Enjoy the poison gas.
And then you get this. This is actually the llama spit particle, I believe. Or, no, panda sneeze. But, yeah, these guys are all the same. Okay, so you spawn in your cell. And this is where most of the actual map starts from. So the first thing you do is run through all of these rooms. There are 2 swords that have a randomized attack value between 6 and 8, I believe. So if you have one that's 7, it's not too bad. Anything more than 7. There is 2 of them. Maybe if one's really bad, then you're not totally messed up for the rest of the map. Or if you want to play 2-player. And so this first area is, you kind of have to figure out that this gives you jump boost. So it's easy to get stuck there if you're not too observant. Here's notes. These are important to the story later on. But maybe not. I think, yeah. See how I can't right-click it here, but I can actually right-click it here? That's because there's structure voids here. Just an interesting piece of trivia. These laser swords do look kind of cool. I guess there's some Z fighting there that I thought I fixed, but I never did. Whoops. So here you see the teleport block. And there's no secrets in this room, but that would be a good spot. And this is very reminiscent of the first one, if you've played the first one. The full black area with
I'm
nothing.
B3T4. I have been assigned to watch over you through your tests. In this room, you will see a descent surface plate. These allow you to jump much further than usual.
And these actually set your spawn each time you walk on them. A lot of the plates work almost exactly the same,
Now, onto the levitation
except for
surface.
those.
This device causes
Oh,
the
sorry.
to slowly float upwards. If you jump right when you touch it, you will get an additional boost.
Yeah. So those are, in the old version, it gave you a levitation effect that was really high, so you actually floated downwards. But there's a bug with that. If you took damage, you went flying upwards. So that's why I use slow falling. So here it says if you jump right when you touch it, you get an additional boost. The easiest way to do that is just to hold space, and then you float right up.
Let's look at the super jump and healing surface plates. The super jump plate allows you to jump much higher than normal. The healing plate uses nanobots to patch you up and also sets a safe point for return later. Try them out in this next room.
So if you want to speedrun it, that's the strat. You just go straight from there to there.
The damage plate has been
And
added to
then
boost
this
cognitive
you can kind of
awareness.
just ignore because
This
these
means
things heal you
exactly
very
where you stand on it.
rapidly. And then this. Ooh, I have died there before, which is kind of
The
embarrassing.
surface plate don't only work when you stand on them, but also when you hit your head on them. Try this feature out now.
Sandstone particles. So another speedrun strat is you hit your head there, and then you go forward, so you don't have the weight to go down. And this you can just go, ooh, that was close. Go straight there. This one you do have to travel like that.
Use your combined knowledge to trigger the 3 switches in this room. Then
So
leave with the teleporter.
this first one's pretty easy to get. Usually you get it first or second try. This one's also, if you want to be real safe with it, you can float down like this. Or if you want to be fast, you can just go like that to get it. And then this one has a very good speedrun strat. If you go real fast and then press shift at the right moment, because the hitbox gets smaller, you actually can jump that gap, which is kind of cool. And once you press all 3, you get that. You may notice up here at the top there's the buttons indicator, and that is just to help you figure out how many you have to do. Okay, so next we have this room, which has 4 different options of where to go. And you can pick, this is kind of, it branches out, but it also goes straight up. That's the next area. So I think, I'm trying to remember the fastest one to go to. Like the best one. I think this one's pretty good. Yeah, because you get the portable shield, which just gives you 5 hearts. And so the first room of these is usually just showing off how these work. So I've got this glass basically showing it goes this far. And then this is showing that you can go through blocks. This one's kind of cool because there's actually 2 ways to solve it. You can either jump right when you hit this. I'm not very good at it. Nope. Missed. This is, yeah. You're supposed to jump. You can jump right when you hit it, but the easier way is just to hold onto this and then have that slow falling to get that extra block. Okay, so this next room is actually just a puzzle. You try to figure out which goes where. So you can see it's pretty obvious that this line is where to go, and these are all damage pads. So you go to this one, but you can figure out how to get there. And you just step on it, it takes you all the way over here. This room's pretty easy too. Just go like that. And then this one, if you're speedrunning, just run through that. There's no reason not to. Big pads of these is quite a common occurrence in this map. So the purple path I think is pretty easy. The pink one is, I think, the easiest. I think it gives you vitamins, which are actually just golden apples. And this is just anti-gravity, which is the high levitation. And both of these paths are actually exactly the same, so it doesn't matter which way you go on that one. Speedrun strat here is to jump, bounce, hit your head here, and that way you don't have to wait for the pink to lose its time off. This one kind of works the same way if you want to speedrun this. And then I think I'll just eat vitamins for now. This one, you can, if you really want to be fast, you do that. Okay, yellow is probably the hardest set, but you put on your safety stompers, which are just feather falling boots. And I think a lot of people have issues with this part of the map because if you have a little bit of ping or latency issues, it will apply the effect a little bit late. So a lot of these you basically just hold forward and it takes you to where you need to go. So like this one, I might have missed that, yeah. I didn't hold forward enough. And then you have, so you hit that and then bounce again. And it's pretty close, but I kind of like it to be pretty tight. This one's kind of cool because it shows that because all blocks can affect you through your head, but it's just showing like, hey, that's how that works. And same with this one. You have to hit your head here. I think you have to land in here. This used to be a lot harder. I actually added quite a few jumps to make it easier. Okay. So this last one you actually have to be underneath of it, and then you finish up like that. Okay, and then the red path is actually the easiest. It's just a couple crits from these robots. And then you heal up. If you want to be fastest, I think if you hold space, you can actually go up, yeah, this whole distance, yeah. Then you just go like that.
Directly you back there. I was instructed to test your exploration skills.
Yeah. So this room, if you want to get the spawn point, that's good to hit. And then hit this, float over here, vacuums to the top of it. That's how you know you're done. And then you come to this room. This one is another case of just holding forward. It basically takes you to where you need to go.
Records indicate this room can be quite confusing. I suggest looking around for hints.
So this is the classic mirror room, but this time I did it vertically rather than horizontally. And I either get this first time or it takes me 10 tries, so it looks like it's going to take me 10 tries. I always hate this bit if I don't get it the first time. Okay, it's pretty pretty close because you got to be fast because that effect will wear out and you won't be able to make any of the jumps. This part is interesting because it teleports you here. Most people just keep moving, but it's important that you don't. And then launches like this. A lot of these puzzles are mostly made just to make you mad as a player, to kind of annoy you. But at the same time, reward you if you think a little bit outside the box. So like this one, you can't make this jump because that'll teleport you way off and you'll have to do it with this whole section over again, which is annoying. But because that's down there, it's also up here in the mirror room. So you just hit that and then you jump on that like that. So then you get the jump boost. I think you gotta land on top of this. Oops. Sometimes it's hard to judge the distances. This isn't very easily fixed because these are not light blocks.
These surface plates impair your vision. I hope it doesn't affect your performance too much.
I think I can make that, yeah. So these just blind you, they're more just a nuisance.
The slowness plates were originally designed to help subjects slow down. We now abuse them to strain subjects. Lucky you.
So, slowness plates, they're not actually that bad. Like you can do most of the parkour with that effect. But it's just a little bit easier. Oh, that's always the worst. If you hit the edge of the block, it doesn't give you the effect sometimes. Oh, I missed that too. See, it's hard to have a balance between being too generous and being too stingy with how you hit the blocks. I missed it again. I think I need to hold space on this to hit it the best. Maybe that's what I'm doing wrong. Okay. Space. Okay, we got it. Might not. It'll be close. No, we got it. Okay. This is speed. This one you kind of do have to just wait, but you gotta be fast. Because if you hit your head on these, you'll be teleported back. This room is pretty simple. It's kind of using the same chunk of the map several times because you climb up here. Then you can jump down there to bounce onto that, which launches you up and over to bounce back on here to land there. Or you just do this, which is the speedrun strat.
To continue here, you must kill all the projections. Projections with colors are impermeable to normal attacks and must be killed in the chamber wall. However, they are also immune to their own color walls. I'll let you sort the rest out.
Okay, so this part was confusing for a lot of players in the playtesting phases, and I can understand why, because it's all of the information is just thrown at you. But really it's not too terribly hard if you know what you're doing. You want to get these guys on the lines. But I do like, instead of actually just fighting these guys, that it's a little bit more interesting because sometimes it's hard to come to find in maps. But I do, that's one of my weaknesses as a map maker, I believe, is information, telegraphing information. I always just kind of expect the player to figure things out. I think that's good enough, but I better hit it just one more time. There we go.
Impressive! Now head upwards and hit all 4 switches in the dark.
Okay. So we got this. An interesting point on this map is these blocks used to be the same as these blocks, but you may notice the square and the circle, and the X and box here, and then the square and the square. This was actually to help colorblind players. It's something I didn't think about at first, and then somebody brought it to my attention. It's like, of course. And I actually lucked out with these because I made them all different patterns to begin with. So they kind of just worked out anyways. But yeah, that's just something as a map maker you want to work on, but you always forget to do. Okay, so these rooms are really annoying. So there's a black box here that you can fall into, and then if you jump here, usually you think you just go past here. This is actually to trick the player because they wonder where everything's at, but the lever is actually down here. And then you backtrack to a different room. And this one's actually you can get from here. Otherwise, you can just go around stuff. But that's how I do it. That's like the fastest way, I believe. This way, this room is kind of weird. Oops, I missed it. Because you want to hit your head on the pink area. And then that. This one's not too bad. You just jump over it to suction to the top of the yellow one, and then that's it.
After you finish the next room, I have
Oops. Yeah, this is how you get back up, but you can't see how to get back up until you are down there. I had a lot of complaints about this area. People really hated it, and I can understand why, but it's like once you know how things work, it's really not that bad. Okay, and so this just teleports you to, well, it doesn't teleport you, it's the pad which teleports you. So this room is kind of annoying because it has to do a lot with speed, and like that one you can't just hold sprint and forward, you actually have to stop it a little bit. Whoops. Another alternate thing that you can do is actually jump off that one and go all the way over here. The speed is actually important to making this jump. So, but I don't think it's essential. It just makes it a lot easier. Okay, so here's the light gun, or light beamer. And this is the biggest change, I would say, between the remastered version and the original version, is that this version has this, which I think is probably the most fun part about the map. Because you're shooting beams of light that turn these black panels that were previously really annoying into white panels, which are not as bad. You will notice that after a bit, I think it's a minute, they actually turn back. And originally I would have just left them, but I like to always have my maps resettable to keep being able to keep retesting them without having to reset the map. So
here's
the way...
the light gun, essentially a glorified laser pointer. If you happen to be standing on a piercing surface plate, then your beams will temporarily destroy green energy barriers.
Okay. So yeah, these green surface plates break through that. This one's not too bad. Just go like that.
The laser beams are also reflective on white energy barriers, so you can bounce your beams.
So this was pretty fun to make, is this mirror ability. And I think it adds a lot to the map because it's just something you don't see very often. It's not like perfect, it does have its issues, but I think it works pretty well. Okay, so this one, you gotta break this block, and then you break a couple over there. What I like, oh, I think I did break it, so I have to wait a little bit. But what's funny is if you break this block, you can't progress. You have to wait a little bit. So if you're speedrunning, it actually hurts you quite a bit. It's not too hard to avoid, but it can be annoying. Okay, so this one's pretty fun, this area. You can actually shoot straight up. And it keeps bouncing. They do have a max distance, so it will die eventually, but if you want to crash your game, just hold right click, looking straight up for quite some time. So the idea with this one is you shoot these. It's easy to miss this one before you start making jumps because, oops, you expect this jump to be able to make it all the way up there. But you can't get from there to here if that green block is there. And so this is kind of like a checkpoint, but if you fall back down, it's not really that useful. So you just break these three. Oops. Apparently I missed it. There we go. Oh, this is frustrating when that happens. I guess I set the max distance to a little bit higher than I remembered. Okay. Yeah, it is good to wait till they respawn sometimes, unless if you make it back really quickly. Like this one, yeah. Okay. So you make that. Here's kind of like a forced area. You are forced to be blind, which is kind of obnoxious, but it shows you that things might not always work out.
Finally, lasers are powerful enough to temporarily brighten black blocks and projections. Give it a try.
So you just look at that spot, and I think that usually just, yep, perfect. You just float up here, and this room is fun. And you just go like that. This black room is just all laser. It's basically a maze, but it's really quite simple. And then this area, you have these mobs to fend off, and you want to be careful with them because they can kill you pretty easily. Oh, and they will keep respawning very rapidly. So you want to just kind of ignore them to find the buttons. And then if you need to, you can just go over here and step on the healing pad. Number 2. Oop, I always overshoot that one. And then the third one's here. Sometimes if they're all backed up just like this, you want to just might as well kill them all. They will respawn very rapidly though. Okay, so here. Oh, yeah, you want them to not follow you up here. Okay, so we got them all. They won't keep respawning now. If you stand on these, you're basically invulnerable. Usually I just ignore these, but like if you're speedrunning, that's the best thing to do. Okay, so
I should have informed you what to do back there. You could say I left you in the dark. This next huge room will combine all of your recent knowledge.
So here is this big room, which is exactly that. It combines everything that you've learned up to this point, and your goal is right there. So this room can be quite confusing if you don't know what to expect. The first thing we want to do is break that green block that was up there. And the best way to do that is to... And you just heard it. That wasn't smart because you want to wait a little bit. So the problem is that the green block already has respawned. So we want to break both of these and then count to 10. I just use this timer to break the last one. And that should be enough. Oops. This thing can be annoying if you're not careful. So you wait for them to respawn, you jump on this to get enough height, you get over there, get the graph pad, come back over here. Oh, gotta be quick though. Especially if you only give yourself 10 seconds. There we go. Always set your spawn. It will respawn you back over there if you don't. This next area, you just jump from here, teleport over there. You will land between those two, so you'll be blinded, so you have to loop around, land on top, and then land over there. If you're really good, you stand from there to break that one, and those, 3 of those, but we'll see that later, how that's useful. Okay, so the jump. Okay, so that can be hard to hit. This is also can be hard to hit. Oh, that might have not been enough. It was not. Also, if you're playing this and you're speedrunning, dying, you can actually remove your portable shield, and that can actually help you die just a little bit faster if you make a mistake. And a lot of these last room jumps are very difficult. Like especially if you just randomly miss things. I always have a hard time with this jump. Oh, especially if I don't even jump. Okay. Ooh, okay, that was pretty close. So this one's annoying because you have to hit... There's another green spot there, and you have to hit that, but by doing so you break your own path. It's not possible to shoot from those, but it is possible to go from there to just break the ones that you need to break. So what I do is I break first 3. Again, I count to 10 or so, so I'll just wait till it hits 65 maybe. Or, 5 seconds after. And then I can actually break 1, 2, 3, I think is, yeah. That last one you don't want to break because that it teleports you and kills you. Which is another one of my trolls. There's a lot of tricks in this map to where I try to get you to do things, but actually they're not useful to you as a player. So this area is actually one of the easiest parts of this chunk, except for this last jump. That last jump is pretty evil. Oh, you gotta wait until the damage ticks. Sometimes you lose height because of the damage. So it just shows how difficult some of these jumps are, and I've been doing this map for a long time, and I still can't make some of them. Here you just shoot until you find the first block you can jump to. And it's a pretty easy jump. This is easy. This isn't too bad. This is annoying. Pretty annoying jump. And actually, I think if I go like that, it's a little bit easier. Okay, set my spawn. This is interesting. You can actually use food if that helps you. If I use these carrots, you can see where these things are. So like if I throw one there, you can see it how it bounces. This is another just case of the mazes. I think there's one more or less right there. Oop. They are pretty easy to miss and then have to restart this section over, which is evil, but I mean, this map is just kind of evil. So this section, it's pretty important. It's not, sometimes it just doesn't work. But it is pretty important to hold on to spacebar. I say that as I miss the jump, but spacebar gives you like an extra block to work with. I think all the jumps are possible without spacebar, but holding spacebar really helps. Like, see how I almost overshot that? And then this, you can actually make it to the second teleport pad, which saves you just a little bit of time if you're speedrunning. After that, we actually have the boss fight.
Now you can see me. Let me put them
And this animation is something that
There we go. Now
I kind of liked.
here. I will develop more test rooms.
So of course a lot of players are just standing around wondering what's going on. Kind of upset that I didn't make it more obvious, but that's okay. But I did add this to where it's like kind of drawing your attention. And it's actually Redstone that runs that. Don't tell any other map maker, because Redstone's kind of like a sin. But it was just a sloppy thing I threw in afterwards. And it was actually faster to make it with Redstone. But what we're trying to do, these tubes actually lead to, like this is the white one up there. This leads to that one, and then it will turn this X into just a dot. So it actually damages the... And usually I just shoot a whole bunch in there, and sometimes you can see some go
I
through.
wasn't expecting that.
Yep.
Good thing I have triple parity. I would encourage you to stop now.
So each time you shoot it, it does... it damages it. So the boss has 4 hit points basically, but each hit point makes it a little bit harder to get to the next one. So this first one, it actually shoots this laser, if you can see it a little bit. Yeah, it shoots that laser. You can shoot it to turn it off for a little bit, which is something I bet most players don't actually know about. This pretty easy to hit. So this green one is the next one you hit. And I always just shoot as many as possible to make it fast.
That wasn't a good idea.
Then you want to leave.
Projections, please. Seize this subject.
Oops, didn't get the launch. So these guys just keep spawning. And they're not too terribly hard to fight because you can punch them off. Like... But the second they die, they respawn, so... It is kind of annoying. But it's important that you shoot that. And then you get this... Ooh, almost knocked me off. So you land on the... whatever plate this is, and you shoot that to unlock it, so to speak.
You are starting to upset me.
Okay, so this is the hard part. You see that? That's a missile that floats to the player and kills the player if it gets near. So it is pretty important that you shoot both of those to stop them from launching. And it's basically impossible to dodge if you're not outsmarting it. So there's two ways to get to the top pad. I think the easier one is just to do what I'm doing now. Okay, shoot that out. And you gotta be fast because that will undo itself. And then the whole area just blows up. So, the blue screen of death, I thought that was a nice touch. And these random explosions are just like 10 that constantly loop. So they don't actually, they're not that important, which is kind of funny. Like they're not unique. And you can see these guys just down there perfectly fine now. Because what I did with this map, which is kind of interesting, is each area has a like a certain set of functions that they run. There's like global functions that always run, and then each area has some functions. So this loop of these commands are set in this specific time chunk of the map. And I'm just getting a score off the player. But the last thing you do is just go from there to there. And these explosions are pretty pretty annoying, but that's kind of what makes them fun. And then you just come in here. Because it's on speedrun, it doesn't play the credits, but I think if well, it doesn't matter. But this is my map, and I do like how it turned out. I guess
Good work so far. Now
I'll show
have a
this
look
part of
at
the
12
map
and insert the
real
hacking
quick.
device.
The fact that if you punch these guys, it will trigger the attack scene. If I go into creative, I will show you a lot of this stuff. So this is all that the map was. This whole chunk was just in this small area. Pretty simple. And then the whole other first chunk of the map is here. Let's go ahead and mute that music. So this whole area is just in here. Here's the 3 buttons. You can see that they're all actually on right now. And that's because I reset the area on the area before it. So let's say I trigger this area, it will load this area then. So it's very event-based, and that's actually how I like it. I made a generator for it, and it turned out pretty well for how it works out. But anyways, if you haven't played this already, I'd give it a go. Try out some of the parkour. It's a pretty difficult parkour map, but it's still fun. Anyways, thanks for watching, and as always, have a great day.